It's another weekend and Sydney's famous Doyle seafood restaurants are swimming with lobster, champagne and the cream of Sydney society. When it comes to the big Sunday lunch, everyone would like to be seen dining at Doyle's. Everyone, that is, but the man who created the dynasty. Forget the harbour views and the succulent oysters. Go looking for Peter Doyle just about any Saturday or Sunday and you'll find him high and dry in the heart of the Hunter. 5 years ago, Peter bought 110 acres just west of Cessnock. He cleared away the scrub, planted a small grape crop, built himself a home and called it the Endless Summer. Now that little hobby farm has grown into his most prized possession.
Oh, this is beautiful, and I think the best kept secret in the Newcastle area too is one of the Barrington tops in the background. You know, I don't think everyone realises in the world what's out there. And, you know, you can go right onto the Molly Morgans there, and it's absolutely stunning, isn't it? It's a long way from Watson's Bay, but I think the Hunter's my second home. People don't realise I worked out of the Hunter in the 50s on the prawn boats there. The
really?
Boats. Yeah, so I'm part Newcastle.
Oh, so you've got your ties here?
Yeah, I got my ties, bit of roots here.
Not surprisingly, Peter has played host to some of Australia's and the world's most famous faces. And when he really wants to impress, one would assume it would be as simple as securing the top table in one of his splendid eateries. But no, when Peter Doyle wants to show his guests something really special, it's straight to the Endless Summer.
Get a lot of people from overseas. I've got people from India coming in. I had a lot of visitors and even a lot of Americans come up with me, and they're knocked out. They're knocked out with Australia, as you know. But I think the Japanese just can't believe that we've got all this area up here.
Really?
But mind you, they're not big wine drinkers or anything, and I think to bring guests up, I think they want to look and get out in the real life of Australia, you know, in the country, and that's what they enjoy. But still, we don't mind when they come up here.
Oh, you're telling me.
At the end to spend, it helps Australia.
But as well as being a great stress reliever and a wonderful entertainer, the Endless Summer has also been Peter's entry into the winemaking scene. Those 5 years ago, he planted just over 15 acres of vines and over the last 4 years has been proudly producing his own drop under the name, of course, of Endless Summer.
Well, here's the vineyard. We planted this about 5 years ago. It's Chardonnay and a bit of Pinot and another vineyard down on the bottom there.
So what sort of a drop do you put out, Peter?
Oh, pretty good Chardonnay. I mean, I've got 1,000 headaches to prove just how good it is. But I'm alive and well, that's the main thing.
I bet.
But the Hunter's produced terrific wines, there's no doubt about it. There's a lot of knockers, and I suppose there's great wines produced all around the world, but I lean a bit more towards the Hunter. Especially, I lean a little bit more to what's grown here. But I think I'm in the pocket of some wonderful wine country.
But it's highly unlikely the Endless Summer wines will ever make it any further than the cellars of Peter Doyle's restaurants and homes. Nor at this stage has he any plans to go chasing medals. He says everything he does at the Endless Summer is just for the pure joy of it. And after having spent nearly all his life building a chain of restaurants that he could share with the rest of the world, he wants to keep his little Hunter hideaway all to himself.
I would like to keep it a secret. But I don't think anything should be kept a secret. I would like to really keep it a secret and say it's the best kept secret in the world, that old cliche. But I feel that the Hunters and the whole Newcastle region's got a lot to offer. I fell in love with it.
The sentiments at tonight's graduation of 42 young people from the track program were far from those levelled by a Senate committee at Higher Education earlier this week.
Well, I think the Senate has drifted around Australia, picking up the points of view of a few malcontents and reported those views as if they were facts. There is no basis to their assessment. Now, I recognise that there are problems which the universities have to contend with in terms of their teaching, but action is already in hand. What I am particularly cranky about is that this group of senators has just swaned around Australia, have believed that they have picked up on something original and tried to make a big deal out of it. They are just publicity seeking, and I think that's a great pity and a great condemnation of the Senate and its role, and makes no sensible contribution to the whole debate about how we can improve higher education in this country.
TRAC stands for Training for Retailing and Commerce and is a course that prepares Year 10 and 11 students for what they might encounter in the employment market. It's also a source from which employers can recruit semi-skilled workers. Employers and financial groups sponsor the program, which is yet to receive full endorsement from the Education Department. For 12 months, students divide their time between work and school and train in a variety of fields. Michael Loxton entered the program in Year 10 while at Gateshead High. He starts a full-time job on Monday.
Tracks opened up a whole new world for me in retail, which I never thought I'd ever go into. And it's given me a lot of choices on what I want to do with my life. Okay.
Two teenage girls from Sydney escaped with just minor cuts when the double-glazed windows shattered. Transit police believe teenage vandals attacked the train from an unfenced gravel drop at Adamstown.
I'd say some young people have come to this area and they've just thrown the rocks at the train as it went through.
Why would they do that?
I suppose they must just boredom, I suppose. Yeah.
While the $1,000 window was removed from the carriage, its passengers were transferred to buses. Transit police say railway vandalism is a serious problem in an area where there are weekly reports of attacks on property. With 2 weeks of school holidays ahead, they're expecting more trouble.
Yeah, we're always on our toes during the school holidays. It's they seem to always want to come to the railway. Why, we don't know.
In terms of diesel-electric locomotives, the CM30-8 is the state-of-the-art, with a massive 3,000 horsepower engine and computer controls. It's capable of pulling more than 2,000 tonnes of load. That's about twice the capability of State Rail's best locos. And with that power comes speed.
Very smooth. No arguments, very smooth.
With a top speed of 160 kilometres per hour, only the XPT can go faster. In a $36 million deal, Ganninans will sell 14 of the locos to Australian National Railways, specifically for moving freight across the Nullarbor. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Within hours of the shooting, police were piecing together the last moments leading to the fatal encounter. The car park adjoining Wallsend District Hospital's casualty admissions wing was cordoned off while they built a step-by-step reconstruction of the incident. Assistant Commissioner Charlie Parsons personally inspected the site. Later at Wallsend Police Station, he authorised local patrol commander Ian Park to read a statement. Philip Brogan Miller, 27 of Maryland, received immediate first aid treatment and was transferred to Royal Newcastle Hospital where he died at 3:30 this morning. Police took a 15-centimetre knife from the scene of the shooting. It's believed Miller drove to the hospital where his wife was receiving treatment in the casualty section after a domestic incident. The shooting was over in seconds. Patients at the hospital were unaware of the drama. Miller's neighbours say he was a quiet man, but last night an angry exchange erupted.
Yeah, well, our bedroom's just here, and they sounded like just Phil walked out of the house, and she just followed him out or something. I don't know.
Did you hear what they were saying to each other?
No, it was a bit of language sort of thing.
Police are insistent that the use of weapons is only permitted when the life of an officer or a member of the public is endangered. Police allege Miller was called upon to drop the knife. They say a 29-year-old officer was cut on the hand prior to the shooting. Philip Miller was critically wounded through the legs and abdomen, but even before the shooting he may have believed he was dying. We understand he was receiving specialist treatment for cancer. The incident is now the subject of a coronial inquest. Tom Hilston, NBN News.
Michael Hagan spent today teaching hundreds of Hunter sub-juniors the fundamentals of rugby league. It's a subject some critics say the Knights concentrate too much on. They grafted a 16-8 win over the hapless Gold Coast Seagulls over the weekend, a side many others have beaten by a cricket score. But Hagan is having none of the criticism.
That's probably normal sort of criticism for around the place. I just think the importance of the game to us was to win the game. We weren't there to win too many friends with an entertaining style of football. I mean, the desired result was to win, and that's what we achieved.
One man immune to the flack is winger Ashley Gordon. The Flash followed his hat-trick against Easts with a touchdown many are calling the best individual effort of the year.
I enjoyed that one probably more. They come at a good time, we were 0-0, but I only got one.
He'll have the chance to notch a few more against the struggling South Sydney Rabbitohs next weekend, but Knights fans can't expect a point fest.
We're pretty much a percentage football side, and I think a lot of people that come along support us who admire the way we play as it is, and I'm sure we'll put on a good performance again this weekend.
Bruce Mackenzie, NBN News.
Andrew Higgins has spent most of his small life in and out of hospitals. He was born with a complex heart condition and during the last year has undergone 2 open heart operations. The last in November took 8 hours to complete. It was touch and go for a while, but Andrew pulled through.
I like to be at the hospital with Andrew for most of the time. Mum comes in, his other grandmother comes in. We all have turns in looking after him. I sleep here at night with him if he wakes. I don't like to get him cry too much. He sort of brings up a little bit of energy.
It was hoped Andrew would be home for his birthday, but his condition makes him susceptible to any virus or infection. Last week he was back in the Mater after he developed a viral infection. Andrew's mother Louise is almost as brave as her son. She knew Andrew had a heart defect when she was 6 months pregnant. With the help of the Cardiac Kids Support Group, Louise has never looked back.
You can go through a period where you can feel rather guilty. You blame yourself for what's happened. I mean, there's nothing that we've done ourselves that have caused our babies to have this condition. But you go through that sort of that feeling, and it's mainly to give support to each other.
Although Andrew will never run a marathon, he will live a relatively normal life. He has only one more open heart operation to face in 4 years' time.
Oh, he's special, yep.
Natural Resources Minister Ian Causley announced the new management plan, which has seen the Royal Volunteer Coastal Patrol at Port Stephens appointed trustee. Its task as such will be to maintain and manage the historic site, though according to Patrol member Mick Fallis, it's a role they've been playing for some time.
There already has been quite a significant amount of maintenance work of a minor nature done by members of the Patrol over the last couple of years, even if it is only ongoing things like tending to the gardens, putting the sprinklers on, minor items. But now, of course, it will become a major project.
At present, the Coastal Patrol's base sits atop an old observation bunker used during the Second World War. However, under the Minister's plan, it's to be given the heave-ho to allow the bunker to be developed as a public observation area. A new modern base will be built adjacent to the Lighthouse cottage, and that's expected to be completed within 12 months. That will see the way clear for the public to have greater access to the historic site. Already moves have been made to form a community group aimed at funding and supporting the reserve. A move Patrol Treasurer Tony Cotter believes is long overdue.
I'd like to see it promoted a little bit more than it is. Once again, it is a public place and we'd like to see the public get more benefit from it. We feel that the public would be entitled to a lot more than they've been getting out of it in the past.
The Australian Institute of Sport's leading scientist spent today casting his eye over the Hunter Academy basketball squad. All enthusiastic schoolyard athletes, he says they're some of the lucky ones.
They've got the skills to enjoy their physical activity now, and I think what happens sometimes in primary schools, we tend to ignore a lot of the physical development of children at the expense of their mental development, whereas I think the correct approach is to develop both hand in hand.
According to Dr Telford, a child who shies away from sports at an early age is unlikely to ever become physically active, while those who are introduced to them will reap the benefits.
If they can enjoy it in primary schools through regular physical education, they're going to continue to do that in the secondary schools, and then possibly, and hopefully probably, have a lifetime of physical activity, which is what we're all after.
He says a more balanced school curriculum would have positive and far-reaching repercussions.
The people that are fitter are not only going to live longer, but they'll enjoy their life better too, with less illness. So there's an economic thing in that as well. But I'm a little bit more introspect than that. I want to get some gold medalists at the Olympic Games. And if we don't have a group of fit children to bring up through the ranks, we're not going to get anywhere near the chance.
Bruce Mackenzie, NBN News.
Nine people were killed in the Workers' Club collapse. Medical evidence before coroner Kevin Waller indicates 8 of the 9 suffered injuries so severe they died almost immediately. A senior forensic medical officer told the court only one victim survived much beyond the initial impact. 75-year-old Albert Bender died from shock due to blood loss an hour after the quake struck. Under cross-examination, Dr Johan de Flue said Mr Bender could have survived longer if it had been possible to pull him from the rubble and stem the blood flow. But he said it was unlikely he would have survived long-term due to his age and multiple injuries. Secretary-manager of the Workers' Club, Wayne Dean, took the stand today, painting a graphic picture of the first few frantic minutes in the crippled building. He told of the severe shudder which went through the club floor. The building was shaking violently in a lateral direction, he said, and there was an unbelievable noise. As he got to the King Street foyer entrance, he heard loud screaming and yelling from many sections of the club. The court heard the Workers' Club opened in 1948, with major extensions completed in 1972. Mr Dean agreed the club had been constructed properly and securely to accommodate crowds which sometimes topped 2,000 people. A model of the club in pre-earthquake days was tendered to the court today. Newcastle Physical Evidence Police built the scale replica to help the coroner piece together the events of December 28. Submissions on the Beaumont Street deaths have concluded, with an engineering report on the buildings which claimed 3 lives. The court heard the earthquake move through the old 2-storey structures like a whip, dislodging bricks onto awnings, which in turn collapsed onto the street. Civil engineer Ian Pedersen blamed poorly structured lime mortar, inadequately supported brickwork and failed supports for the tragic collapse of the awnings. The inquest continues tomorrow, with evidence from Workers' Club employees and members. Leslie Robinson for NBN News.
In May, a report commissioned by the Newcastle City Council recommended the removal of enclosures and the relocation of Blackbutt's animals. Protesters picketed council and tonight came back united as the Blackbutt support group, with 15,000 signatures opposing the removal of the animals.
Initially, the alarm bells went out when it was understood that there was a consultant's report suggesting removal of the animals. And this led to great concern, and so many of the Newcastle population have shown that concern in many ways, and certainly putting their name on sheets of paper stating that they want the animals retained in the park.
The support group went further, recommending a program of animal care including upgrading of enclosures and a full maintenance plan of the park. Park rangers and council officers came up with a similar proposal. Council will make a decision on the matter in 3 weeks.
Twenty teams from Lismore and Grafton in the north of the state to Como and Menai in Sydney, plus the Newcastle, Hunter and Lake Macquarie districts, are engaged in their own little World Cup of Soccer tournament at Mayfield. Braving near freezing temperatures, it was better taking part than being a spectator, although the standard of football play was enough to warm the hearts of proud parents. And arriving to halt play for a bit was the patron of the tournament, Big Dog himself, who brought with him the shield that the teams are competing for. Escorting Big Dog Maradona onto the playing surface was 4 of Newcastle's outstanding players, former Socceroo Graham Jennings, Marconi's David Lowe and BHP Austral's Bobby Namoff and David Jones. After greeting the young admirers, Big Dog indicated it was his turn and after successfully saving 1 shot, called on the strike force. Reverting to normal play and after an unsavoury incident, Maradona Dog was shown the red card, but like all purebreds, disputed the decision. Play will continue tomorrow with the finals in the afternoon. The presentation at 3 p.m.
According to the RSPCA, cruelty and neglect to animals such as this has to be stopped.
We're very angry, Peter, to think that people can't feed animals. It's far easier to feed an animal than it is to starve it, and these are the sort of situations that we're running in these last few days.
And you can see where the problem lies. Cold westerly winds and in some places heavy frosts have stifled pasture growth. A month ago, livestock was thriving on this grass. Today, it could be starving. Inspector John Carter has been inundated with complaints of livestock in trouble. John says absentee landlords are often to blame, leaving animals to fend for themselves in paddocks which the winter months have rendered useless. If not given supplementary feed in the next week, this horse will probably die. The owner cannot be found, and the RSPCA says they'll probably have to step in to save her. People found guilty of ill-treating their animals can be fined $2,000. What does it make you feel like when you see people treating animals like this?
Well, for the number of years I've been doing it, Peter, I get very, very disgusted when it's so easy, as I've said before, to feed an animal rather than starve it, like the one we're looking at here in particular.